Good evening from London, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. And today is Wednesday, and you know what that means. It means it's time for AEW Dynamite. And a lot of people are talking about AEW, not just in the wrestling world today, but also just in the media world in general. And not much of it is positive, unfortunately. We're going to be getting to all of it today and more. And we have some special guests joining us as well. But before we get into that, let me introduce my co-host for the show, Clark Taylor. How are you, Clark?
Dude, what's going on? I'm stoked to be here as usual. It's Wednesday, and I definitely do know what that means. AEW Dynamite. I always love breaking down Dynamite. I might be the only one in the media here that's going to be positive about it, but who knows? Who knows? Ticket sales are clearly down. We're going to get into that, but I'm equally as excited about our special guests today. Two absolute legends and gems. Let's get into it, man. You good there?
So, sorry, I'm having some audio issues here for a second, Clark.
No problem.
For some reason, my audio's cut out.
I got you now.
There we are. Am I back?
You're back. He's back.
No, I'm not back. Oh, gosh, I'm just going to talk for a second. This is live content, everybody, isn't it? But also joining us today, we do have some very, very special guests. And those are, I'll introduce them in just a second here, but here at Wrestling Republic, of course, you know, we have a lot of links. We're over a lot of different places on social media. Because of that, at times, it can be difficult to, keep up with, all our links and everything, but these guys, they have a solution. They have everything in one place, and firstly, let me introduce Matt Roos from Next Level.
Hey, Ben, how you doing? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Clark, how you doing?
Doing well.
Good. Yeah, thanks for this opportunity to talk a little bit about Next Level, talk some wrestling, and looking forward to it.
Absolutely. It is going to be a fun one. Also from Next Level, we have a huge wrestling fan, and that is Jason Hatfield. How are you, Jason?
Hey, Ben. Hey, Clark. How's it going? I'm doing great. Very excited to be on today. Appreciate you having Matt and I. Excited to talk some wrestling.
Let's do it.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fun one. And of course, I had audio issues for a second, but they're suddenly fixed now. And I've noticed why. It's because Bobby Petito's in the chat. Hello, Bobby. I hope you're having a great day. David Marge is saying that he is excited for tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite. But, of course, there's this big cloud over AEW today, and that is this ticket sales stuff. For those of you guys who don't know, the internet wrestling community has brought up, this ticket sales issue of AEW over the past 24 hours, and this has led to Forbes picking it up, and Forbes basically writing a hit piece on AEW. It's a bit extreme, to be brutally honest. I don't agree with some of it. And if I'm not agreeing, then it's a bit extreme. But it is certainly interesting, and when AEW get mainstream coverage, they want it to be good. And this is now 2 articles in a row on Forbes where it's not been good for them. Of course, we had the Brawl Out one before, and now this too. They're not on a good streak when it comes to, mainstream articles. But for those of you guys who do not know, today, they've sold 3,000 seats in a 19,000 seat arena. And admittedly, of course, we know they're not going to sell all of those. But 3,000, it's not great. It really, really isn't. Especially when they're in Tulsa for the first time tonight. It's not like they've been there a lot. This is their first time going. And on the day before the show, they've only sold 95 tickets, which is extremely poor, right? If you're not selling tickets the day before the event, then it means that you're just not promoting the event well enough. And not even just that, but what you've announced for the event just isn't exciting enough for them. Now, in October, SmackDown had an episode there with nothing announced and all of that, and they sold 10,000 tickets, right? You'd expect WWE to sell more, that's understandable. But they're doing an episode of SmackDown there in June, 4 months from now, and well, it's almost sold as many as they've sold tonight already. 4 months in advance. But listen, WWE is hot right now. Nobody's denying that. You cannot deny that. But what's concerning is New Japan's ticket sales are up from 18 months ago. So is basically, every other company. So is TNA's. So are most large independent companies, right? There's a general trend in wrestling right now that ticket sales are up. Wrestling is hot. But AEW's is significantly down. Significantly. I mean, it doesn't help, to be honest with you, that they've only announced 2 notable matches for tonight. And then they've also announced that Toni Storm will be in action and Deonna Purrazzo will be in action. So basically, they've announced 2 squash matches, which again, I don't understand why they do that. But they've also announced, of course, FTR versus the BCC. And also the 6-man tag team match, which we'll get into in just a bit. But listen, clearly they just did not announce enough of this show, and they did not announce it quick enough. They need to be announcing this stuff like a week before the show, which is what they used to do. And I kind of criticized them for it. I said, let's have a bit more unpredictability with it. But I was saying that when their ticket sales were hot. They are no longer hot at all. In fact, they are almost freezing cold. So, listen, my perspective on this is they've got to now start announcing matches a week ahead of time again, because selling 95 the day before a show is just bad. Absolutely bad. And what is the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting something different to happen. Well, they haven't changed their ticket strategy. In fact, the only thing they have changed is their ticket prices, which they have put up, which I think's made this entire situation worse. We know WWE has put their ticket prices up drastically, but that's because they're a hot ticket right now, whereas AEW isn't. You can't be raising the price when the demand's going down. You can't do that. It makes no sense. Clark, what are your thoughts?
It's interesting. I don't know. I've got a lot of thoughts here. So AEW is a company in its infancy, and you're going to see rises and dips in ticket sales, I think, without question. Obviously, WWE being scorching right now is a factor. Triple H taking over creative. What we've seen since the CM Punk stuff, all of that from WWE has been huge. And the talk of not only social media, but mainstream media and all the outlets that we're looking for wrestling news from. AEW isn't in a position where I think they're in huge trouble. Tulsa's never really been exactly what I would call a walk-up town. It's not Vegas. It's not New Orleans. It's not Nashville, where you're going to get a bunch of day of ticket sales. I understand it undersold. It was interesting. I looked up the weather. I figured, it's Tulsa, Oklahoma. You never know what you're going to get. It's in late February. It is high of 79 today in Tulsa, which is, it's good weather to maybe go to a wrestling show if you decided you wanted to. But, even the U.S. Open at Southern Hills had issues in golf back in the day with attendance. Tulsa isn't necessarily a town known for filling buildings, right? You look at the biggest major sports team in the state of Oklahoma is probably the Thunder, and they're over in Oklahoma City. Then you have, I would say, OU and Okie State football and basketball, are collegiate, obviously, but near that level, and those are in other towns, not Tulsa, correct? Now, it's not just Tulsa, though, and that's part of the issue. I completely understand, right? They've had problems selling tickets, but we remember 2 months ago, Tony Khan mentioned going to markets that are more interested in the product as opposed to just trying to nationally tour. And I don't know necessarily if that plan has been put in place execution-wise so far yet, given the fact that they're still booking smaller towns and different arenas.
Yeah.
We haven't exactly seen that. Now, I haven't heard any problems necessarily about Revolution in Greensboro, Sting's last match.
No, Revolution's doing great.
It's selling well. And even the early sales for All In are doing well. I think they're going to fill Wembley again. And they're
I don't know.
I also think the week later in Chicago is all but guaranteed to be pretty darn full. They did it last year without a world title match on the card. I don't see a reason they don't do it again. They've done it nearly every time they've been in Chicago, to the extent that they had to move from Now Arena way up in the north suburbs all the way down to United Center. And so I think if AEW targets the markets that truly loves AEW, targets the buildings that truly love AEW, and get their tour schedule more congruent with the direction of the actual company, the ticket sales will jump back up because television ratings were the talk, and then it was ticket sales, and TV ratings are definitely down on Collision, but they're not super down on Dynamite. It's been relatively
steady.
They're steady. And so I would say it's too early to hit the panic button at the very least. And I think it's something that, as much as I love the wrestling community and the IWC and talking wrestling with a ton of people, we have a tendency to do that, right? Everyone freaked out. Oh my gosh, like Rock and not Cody. And then guess what? We got Cody, right? That's kind of a wrestling thing that I feel like
that's
consistently happens. And so while it is concerning, no doubt, I'll admit that, right? I'll obviously you would prefer both companies to be selling tickets like crazy, right? As opposed to just one, right? The second, but I think it's too early to hit the panic button and too early to tell.
But here's the thing, though, right? We say this. I feel like we keep making excuses because these are issues which they could, they could solve, or at least try to solve a lot better than they're doing. They could be announcing matches ahead of time. They could be promoting better where they're going, right? We know they're throwing a lot of money out at a lot of different talents. We know that they're offering contracts, which compete with WWE, yet they're a way smaller company. Well, how about putting some of that money into promotion? Promote the event. Because they've not done that right now. Bobby Petito's asking, have UFC ever done a show in Tulsa?
So I have
no idea.
There was a UFC fight night, Benson Henderson versus Rafael Dos Anjos. And it was in, let me tell you the year. And Benson Henderson trains in Tulsa, which is, I'm pretty sure, why they booked that card. So it was not an official pay-per-view event. It was August 23rd, 2014, and they have not been back since.
I think that maybe tells you all you need to know.
Yeah.
I mean, WWE go there every year, though, so they clearly consider it, something, a decent place to go. Connecting people through wrestling is saying they don't have an attendance issue. They have an unprofessional fans creating amateur content, discussing business matters they aren't educated in problem. I think he's trying to diss us.
I think that was a shot at us. That was sweet.
Yeah, I read it out, and I was like, oh, they got me there. But no.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for the follow, though.
Can't wait to hear it on your show. The pro one. My bad. Sorry.
Oh, gosh. But, I mean, listen, if you don't listen to us, don't listen to us. But instead, listen to Forbes, or don't listen to Forbes. But what they said today, because I've got to read this quote out, because I disagree with it, but it's hilarious. Alfred Kanua from Forbes wrote an article today, and it ended with, eventually, AEW must embrace casual viewers, or Tony Khan will have essentially purchased 2 Ring of Honors. I mean, he didn't purchase AEW to begin with, but I mean, it's a hell of a hit piece.
Founder of the company.
Somebody had a good day, writing, didn't they? Jason, I want to get your thoughts on this situation, though. Do you think this is a cause for concern for AEW?
I mean, you got to sell tickets. You can't just go out and sign the best free agents and then not produce. Who are they going to wrestle for? You got to spend some money on promotion. Bringing the best talents in is good. It's great, but you also need the fans. I mean, you can't wrestle against each other with nobody watching. That's not a good look. And with WWE being so hot right now, you would think that would trickle over just as a wrestling fan in general to AEW. I mean, it's the hottest it's ever been, and AEW needs to figure out how to get those fans in those seats. Either work on promotion or stop buying all these free agents and not using them, and use that money to bring fans.
I mean, that's a good point. That's what I've been saying for months. They're stacking their rosters. There's no, half of them are in catering, and I mean, and then they're giving them even bigger deals to renew them. But Matt, from a business perspective, do you think this is something which they should be worried about, or is it just, early doors for AEW?
I mean, it's definitely something that they're going to be concerned about, right? You got to put people in the seats, and that's going to draw the money, that's going to sell the merch and all that stuff. So they have to figure out a way, to put people in the seats. They got the talent, but you got to get the talent in the ring. And until they do that, it's concerning for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's hope they solve it soon, and let's hope that the crowd in Tulsa tonight is at least loud for for what they're going to be doing. But let me check Instagram now. We're all good over on Instagram. But let's now talk about this six-man tag team match. Let's talk about Samoa Joe, the AEW World Champion, teaming up with a man, or one of the two men, who will be facing him at AEW Revolution, and that is Swerve Strickland and Swerve Strickland's faction member, Brian Cage, and they will be taking on Huck, Rob Van Dam, because of course Huck and Rob Van Dam are very weirdly a tag team now, and Hangman Page, the other man who will be facing Samoa Joe at Revolution. This six-man tag team match has been getting a lot of criticism again on social media, because a lot of people are saying, hang on a second, why is Joe, happy to team with Swerve, and why is Swerve happy to team with Joe? I actually don't hate this. And the reason I don't hate this is because, from a kayfabe perspective, you could say, well, they both have an agreement that they want to take out Hangman Page. And once they take out Hangman Page, it'll be a one-on-one match at Revolution, so it'll be easier for both men to get the victory. Makes sense, that's fine. But to me, the biggest concern about this is Swerve is on the heel team, whereas Hangman Page is on the face team. And for the past few months, Swerve has been the face in that feud. Swerve is the guy the fans are cheering for. So this could create a really weird dynamic in this match. The crowd might hijack it, or it might be fine. It could go literally either way. We're going to have to wait and see. But I do think that Samoa Joe is probably going to walk out and leave, Swerve to get beaten a 3-on-2 handicap match. And kind of Hangman does play full into that heel role as the match goes on, or something like that. But then again, then you're making Huck look like a heel as well. It's not an easy one to book, but I'm okay with this match. What are your thoughts, Clark?
I think Samoa Joe is the key to this whole operation here. He's proven in the last 6 months that he's willing to take money to do about whatever. He's basically just a gun for hire. I wouldn't call him a good guy or a bad guy, right? He's old school gunslinger. He doesn't matter who it is, and he'll go after you. He proved that in the MJF rivalry by taking money from Adam Cole, right? I mean, he's already done that. I would love actually to see this all be a masterminded plan by Hangman Page, where they're trying to take out Swerve and he turns on him maybe even mid-match. And it's convoluted. If we're going to have a funky finish, we're going to have a brawl today. Hook and Van Dam do their best to step up and try to help out. Swerve, but it's all for naught, because Joe and Cage are both on the books for Hangman at this point. I don't mind that at all. Or Brian Cage even is the one who does the beat down too. Maybe it's Hangman has him on his books somewhere. With the way that Hangman was whining after the match with Swerve, heelish Hangman, I can't wait for. I think it's awesome, because I eventually think it'll lead to the anxious millennial cowboy, which is where I think he operates at his finest. That character, because I think it's who he really is, right? He's a millennial with anxiety, right? But he graduated Vautech in 2 years. He's a bright guy and he works his tail off, and he's an old school cowboy at heart, but he's modern in his own psychological thinking because he wants it so bad. And I love the juxtaposition of his whole character, and the heel turn, I think, was at the absolute right time. I hope that they double down on it in this match. As much as there's been criticism of it, I have no problem with it, because I think it's an opportunity for Hangman to show how bad he really is, how little he cares about the people he's teamed with today, to really drive home the fact that Swerve is the babyface in this situation.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a weird thing, though, where I think AEW did want Swerve to be the heel, and then obviously the fans got behind him because of how great he is, and then because of that, and I think only because of that, the fans have turned on Hangman, because prior to it they liked Hangman, and it's one of those things where, I mean, fans, obviously we say it all the time, fans have a voice in wrestling. It is, in no other, not in movies, not really in theater, and nothing else can the fans change the direction of the product, change the direction of the show, change the story, right? We've seen it with Cody Rhodes, and I think we've kind of seen it in this feud as well. It's going to be exciting to see what happens tonight in this six-man tag team match, but I think, the big question is, can they coexist? And I doubt it. I really doubt it. But I now want to
Yeah.
I now want to get back Matt and Jason, because I want to talk to you guys about Next Level, because I mean I spoke about it at the start of the show. It's got all our links in one place, and I think that is a really handy thing. But you guys tell us a bit more about it.
Yeah, so what we're trying to create, well, with Next Level itself, is we're a platform that centralizes all of your socials, your websites, merchandise, all that in one spot, right? So it's just streamlines your followers and fans to see all your stuff in one location, so they're not going from platform to platform. It's all visible right there, and that's a feature within the app itself. You have Next Level app, which is essentially we're growing that wrestling community with the helps of you and your team, right? We're getting some great content on the app, and we feel like we're going to be that center place for the wrestling community to come enjoy some of the best content in the world by some of the best content creators in the world. And we're slowly building that up right now. We got some big names in the books who are helping us build it, but it sure is an exciting time right now to be a part of Next Level. And with the help of Jason and you guys, we're really growing this out pretty rapidly.
Absolutely. No, it certainly is exciting. And of course, guys, it's in our description on YouTube. If you're on Instagram where there isn't, a way to do a description, you just need to go to nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic to see our Connect link. It's where all our links are. And then from there, you can download the app. You can do everything, right? And it's Next Level, NXLVL. That's how it's spelled for the app. And yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, Jason, do you want to say a bit more about the wrestling community and what you guys are trying to build over there?
Yeah, we believe that there isn't a platform for the wrestling community, and we have built that, and we have such great content and on it, and it's not gonna. If you want to see wrestling, that's what you're gonna see. It's not gonna get lost. And we have some pretty awesome promotions coming up, pretty sweet contests. So stay tuned. Download Next Level and enter for your chance to win. Pretty good deal. That's all I can say. So
yeah, you'll be able to find more information on that coming up on your Connect link. So that's going to be exciting. So
absolutely. So once again, guys, go to nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic. Link in the YouTube description to check out our Connect link. All our links are there, all our social medias. You don't have to go, typing our name in on Twitter, typing our name in on Instagram, YouTube, all of these things. It's all in one place. It's easy as anything. Go and do that for sure. But now let's talk about Jason. I'm going to keep it with you because I want to talk to you about Miss Toni Storm and Deonna Purrazzo, because a few weeks ago I was really, really praising this feud. Very rarely in AEW have they spent time on a women's feud. I've been so critical of that, but this one they really were. They were putting in so much time with it, and I thought it was excellent. I thought they were finally creating, a compelling story that got me really excited to see their match. And then a couple of weeks ago, they decided to have a random title match, where seemingly Deonna Purrazzo, despite the fact that she was #1 contender, she got skipped in the line. Toni Storm predictably won. Deonna then had a squash match. And now for the past 2 weeks, both Toni and Deonna are just having squash matches each week. It feels like they really badly want to build this feud, and they've forgotten how to tell a story. So they're just booking squash matches not against each other, but, but both booking squash matches for themselves each week with the other in commentary. I don't get it. I mean, what are your thoughts on it, Jason?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because the Toni Storm character, they have been building that up so nice, and it's come along so good. And then to have Deonna Purrazzo come in, and they were building it up, and then it's like they forgot what they were doing. I don't understand where they're going with it. And it's like they pumped the brakes for some reason. I don't know. It's weird. And correct me if I'm wrong, Deanna's never beat Toni Storm, even when they were in NXT, right? Toni Storm's undefeated against her.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's exciting, I was really looking forward to that match, but it's You just keep throwing, like you said, squash match after squash match. Where's the it factor that it's really gonna put this over the edge to? I can't wait for it. It's finally here. Let's have it cook. And yeah, it's kind of letting down a little bit. But let's see what they go. Let's see what they do. And I'm here for it. Let's just get to it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And you guys know me. I like long-term storytelling. I like it when they spend time on feuds. So I'm not having a go at them for, waiting until Revolution to do this. But they can't just do squash match after squash match. That's lazy. Last week, Toni Storm had that video package where she had a tattoo over the previous tattoo, which of course Deonna had as well. I thought that was great. I don't think, this week, have Deonna come out and cut a promo on that or something like that. You don't need to just do a random squash match. It makes zero sense. It really does. I mean, I understand that AEW, in general, they want to have less promos and more in-ring action. But nobody, and I mean nobody, is going there tonight to see Toni Storm have a squash match or Deonna have a squash match. There are certainly people who were going there to see them, but you could have it be way more compelling and interesting by them cutting a promo or maybe a contract signing. We're only a couple of weeks away now from Revolution. In fact, I think it's a week this Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But I don't get it. I mean, Clark, really quickly, because we've got some time. I wanna get your thoughts on this now. Do you think it's at the point where it's kind of gone a bit stale? Do they need to just spice it up a little?
I think there's a real simple fix here, and I think the timing is the issue because we've gotten so close. The tattoo segment was perfect, but we need a true babyface in this matchup. It should be Deonna Purrazzo, but we're so used to her working as a heel often. She can be a great babyface, I think, but we're used to the virtuosa being a heel in general, right? I would say, she's worked both angles, but I think the tattoo being covered, Deonna's most obvious direction is to challenge Toni for being phony. And I didn't mean to rhyme there, but Toni Storm changing characters and becoming, timeless Toni Storm, the Marilyn Monroe, the black and white stuff. This isn't who you really are. How about if she exposes the fact that it's a temporary tattoo over the real one? That would be amazing. I would love that. If Deonna's immediate direction is to challenge that Toni Storm is not really who she's acting like she is right now. And that reignites the rivalry immediately, makes us want to see it paid off, makes us want to see a fight. And that's where I think Toni Storm goes over at the pay-per-view and proves she is the timeless one. And that makes the most sense to me. But I think it's a real simple fix, and Deonna needs to target not only the tattoo thing, but all of it. Yes, you do have a tattoo. You're not from the 1950s. You would not have had a tattoo if you were from the 1950s. And not only that, we have the same one. Like it's, right. The black and white stuff is all for effect. You don't really talk like that. Like I've traveled the roads with you in the past, right? Our friendship is timeless. That's the only thing that's timeless about you, right? Is how long we've been friends and traveled the roads and wrestled together against each other, with each other on various promotions. Tell that story on television in the next couple of weeks, and I'm all the way back in.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they were kind of telling that. That was kind of what they were doing, and they kind of just forgot how to tell a story. And we're like, squash matches, that'll do it. Toni Storm's in action. Deonna's in action. How about this week? They're both in action. Why are they in action?
Yeah.
To
your point, it feels like they hit the pause button. They hit the pause button on it for like no reason. And that's frustrating.
We got Shard in the chat. Shout out to Shard and congratulations. Of course, Shard is now a married man. But
I said it 4 times yesterday, so I'm not congratulating him again.
Oh wow. You're like, I've maxed out. Just like AEW, they maxed out. They're like
on 2 different shows.
You're just like AEW. AEW, they've told the story for, 4 times. Okay, we're done now. We're done. You're like, I've congratulated 4 times. We're done. Oh, gosh. But now let's move on. Let's move on to talk about, of course, what I presume is going to be the main event. The Blackpool Combat Club, who are going to be taking on, of course, John Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli of the Blackpool Combat Club, who are going to be taking on FTR tonight. I mean, we just spoke about story. This is one which just feels a little rushed to me. But, nevertheless, I'm excited. I really, really am. It's not often that you get to see 4 guys of this, caliber competing on, weekly TV. So I'm excited to see it. I'm sure it'll be a great, great match, because I have a feeling this is going to be a bigger feud. I am a little bit worried we're going to have some DQ finish or some nonsense to advance the story a bit more. But John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and FTR, how can you get this wrong? I really hope they don't, and I'm excited for it. But what about you, Jason?
Oh yeah, absolutely excited. Obviously we know there's going to be some blood with Moxley. When isn't there? And Claudio, they both been on a roll. Claudio, man, he's just so impressive. His strength is out of this world. And FTR, one of the best. But like you said, I do think it's going to end in a DQ, or something's going to happen. And it feels rushed. I wish they would have took their time, like they did with Tony and them and Deanna, to build this up. Just don't put it all together real quick. But I'm excited. Like I said, with Moxley and Claudio's in the ring, so it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a banger. So very excited.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, odds on if Moxley bleeds, that's the question, right? I mean, I'm sure if you vote, yeah, I'm sure you'll lose a lot of money if you vote against Mox, to be honest with you, bleeding. But who knows? I mean, what about you, Clark? How are you feeling, heading into what will probably be, I guess, in the main event of the show? And because there's only 4 things announced, I'm guessing this is going to be, get some time as well.
I think this is going to be one of those ones where they give them 25 minutes, at least 25 minutes, maybe 30. And it is going to be an absolute Ken Griffey Jr. slugfest. Like an absolute snuggie, a blanket with sleeves, the entire match without question. Forearms, chops. It's going to be, in the words of myself, an audio match. You could just listen to it and you'll hear it. I can't wait.
Doesn't need any commentary.
I don't necessarily know who is going to go over and how. If I have to pick, I'm going to go Moxley and Claudio, where FTR can get their comeuppance at Revolution, because FTR's got the North Carolina ties, and that's in Greensboro. And this matchup, the rematch to gain redemption in their hometown, to me makes the most sense. So I think it is razor thin. I think we're going to see a few false finishes, not too many, but just enough because of the 4 we have in the ring. And I think Moxley and Claudio go over with maybe something unique, maybe an assisted Death Rider, maybe some sort of new move to add to the tag team acumen that they've kind of shown, because I don't mind either of these 2 teams being the immediate challenger for the likely new champions following that pay-per-view in Greensboro, which will be the Young Bucks. I don't mind either team being the challenger. I think it should be FTR. I think we do FTR versus the Bucks with FTR as the baby faces, and we run that immediately following Greensboro. And that's why I have Moxley and Claudio going over tonight. But either way, I'm fired up for the match, and I would not be shocked if we see an assisted spike pile driver or a big rig for the finish and FTR does go over. But my guess, if I had to make one today, prediction wise, is definitely something special out of Moxley and Claudio, probably a Death Rider type of maneuver, because Moxley has really, really leaned into that over just the paradigm shift.
Yeah.
The former Dirty Deeds, right? The Death Rider, the New Japan version of the finish, where it's like more of a brain buster or a takeover type of move with the double arm hooks. Something like that. Almost maybe like we saw the Magic Killer last night on NXT from the Good Brothers. Maybe something similar to that, where you have the legs up pre-Death Rider of whether it be Cash or Dax, and then the spike from there, I think would be a cool way to really push Mox and Claudio as chasing tag team stuff, put them in the rankings, maybe have them pass FTR in the rankings.
That would be crazy.
On the way,
all the way to the tag team.
On the way to the pay-per-view. I wouldn't mind that. That's one place where the rankings could actually be used positively. And that would be exciting to me.
There's an interesting comment here from Bobby Petito. And that comment is, of course, we're talking about BCC, we're talking about John Moxley, we're talking about Claudio Castagnoli, but that other member in it, Bryan Danielson, he's going to be finishing up this year, and at AEW Revolution, he will be taking on Eddie Kingston for this Triple Crown Championship. And we had a comment on the Instagram, let me get it up real quick, from Apex Sounds, who's saying the way to fix this AEW ticket issue and to make, it all feel a bit more important is a brand split. And I suggested this months ago, and I said that Continental Crown, which Eddie Kingston holds, needs to be the main title on one brand, with the AEW title being the main title on the other brand. Because otherwise, the Continental Crown means, I don't want to say it means nothing, but it's a third singles title. Why on earth, 2 was bad enough. It really, really is when you have, one brand. 2 singles titles, not singles titles, mid-card titles makes no sense to me. But as soon as you get, a third mid-card title, it's senseless. It makes no sense.
Ben,
come on.
I thought Cody said all the titles were equal.
Remember? Oh, well, exactly. And guess where he's gone now? He's gone and he's finishing his story. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. Right, I'm going on a rant. I've just decided off the fly. I've been set off. Honestly, they did a Continental Classic. They did a tournament which was excellent. It was phenomenal. They drew back in so many fans in that, and it was absolutely exceptional. They crowned Eddie Kingston. They told a brilliant story. It was beautiful. New champion, new championship, brilliant. And what's happened with it since? Absolutely nothing. It's been stuck on a show where nobody's been watching. They've literally done nothing with it. They've absolutely. I don't even think you can argue that.
He's defended it outside of AEW though, which is cool.
I didn't even know that.
Which is cool. There's that. And here's what I would say. My answer to Bobby's question, the original question, pull it back up. I think Bryan Danielson absolutely goes over because it would be a huge miss. Bryan Danielson signing at All Out in 21 was, I'm sorry, in 22 was, or 21. Yeah, 21. All Out 2021.
Yeah, 2021. Yeah.
Yeah, 2021.
September.
Electric. It was him and it was my birthday, but it was him and Adam Cole. Same night. It was outstanding. It was actually my 30th birthday party. I was there. It was awesome in the building. It was electric. But Bryan Danielson, as far as holding titles in AEW, we haven't seen much. If we want this new title to look good, and we look back at the history of the title and Bryan Danielson's name's on it, that's a big deal. I don't think Bryan Danielson's name will be on the world title history at AEW, but it might be on the Continental Crown. And that to me makes the most sense. I think Danielson goes over, carries that title maybe through the rest of the year. The brand split is a possibility, I think, without a doubt. But I don't think it has to be Danielson defends that one on Collision every week. Now, on paper, though, if you're going to have somebody carry a title that is the face of one of the two brands, a la a brand split, why not Bryan Danielson? And why not have him be the face of Collision and carry those belts and defend them, especially given the tear he's on with dream matches? If we just put a new Danielson dream match on Collision in the main event about every other week. As a fan myself, I'm signed. Where do I sign? It's Bryan Danielson, and we only have so much time left with him. That adds up. So I think this is another one where it's too quick to rush to judgment here. It's only been a few months.
It's only, even if they were defending it all the time, it wouldn't make any sense because they have 3 mid-card titles. Explain it to me. This is worse than boxing.
You're playing too many video games. It doesn't have to be a mid-card title. This could be an upper mid-card title.
Oh, right? That's not a real thing. That's not a real thing.
What do you think?
Where the title is in the mid-card depends on the reign.
So would you say the Cruiserweight title and the Intercontinental title were on the same level? Or the Light Heavyweight title?
I don't know. The Cruiserweight had an actual stipulation, which is why I defended that.
Okay, so how about the European title?
I complained when WWE prior to the brand split in 2016 had the Intercontinental and US both active. I complained about that then because I thought that was stupid. I'm not a big mid-card title guy, you know that anyway. But I understand having one. I understand having one. Having three, it's my worst nightmare. What are they going to announce? An entire Dynamite for the Battle Royales?
You give Danielson the title, maybe that'll put some people in those seats.
That's what
Exactly, Jason.
I think we're all on the same page, though. Danielson's got to go over on that one and carry that belt and make, because sometimes the wrestler makes the belt and not the other way around, right?
Right.
I don't even think that this is Eddie Kingston's fault. I think he's been given another mid-card title in a sea of mid-card titles.
Although
maybe you have a battle royale, and everybody in the battle royale gets a title. Maybe that's the answer.
I'm a huge Eddie fan, and this run has been outstanding. But I feel like we missed athletically when he was actually capable of making this run, which would have been like 2 or 3 years ago. The guy's dealt with injuries his whole career, and he does appear to be slowing down in some of these matches. And I feel for him for that, right? Like the quality of match he had against Miro at that same event we just talked about where Danielson debuted was unbelievable. And he kept up athletically in a way I don't think he's capable of just 3 years later right now. And that is no knock on Eddie. I'm a huge Eddie fan. You can tell the way his hips are operating, knees. He is struggling. I mean, when he was trying to run even less than a year ago down the aisle, it was like, is he running or like, it was tough.
He's been in good shape lately, in fact.
I
think he's put on a string of great matches. I don't think
it's a conditioning issue. It's he's so banged up from all of the years of lack of health insurance on the independent scene. I mean, he worked on the independent scene longer than almost any name that we treat like Eddie Kingston, right? Other guys were in WWE, in AEW, in New Japan, in organizations where they're getting treated. Eddie Kingston would sprain an ankle, tear something, whatever, and work the next night. And he did it for 15 years. And so now at this point in his career, and it's time, time beats everybody at some point, and it's not Eddie's fault. But I think he's got to figure out either A, how to heal the injuries, or B, work around them, which he's done for so long.
Well. Like I don't notice
he's done
it
for
really
so long, but
matches.
I just have noticed in the last few that I've watched, he's slowed down considerably, and it makes me feel for him empathetically wise, because I'm such a huge Eddie fan, and I think his story is so incredible. Finding his stride. I mean, like whatever the jelly roll viral thing about like the 39-year-old winning breakout artist. That's basically what Eddie Kingston did in pro wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Is he found it late in his career, and just for his own physical health. Brian obviously experiencing, having to retire due to the head injuries and whatnot, can relate to that as well as anybody. So it does make sense to have both of them in the ring, and Danielson could have a 5-star with a broomstick if he had to. But like for me, Eddie, I think has done what was necessary, got his flowers, won the title. It's time for Danielson to win. Eddie can heal up and then I think return to closer to his peak as far as athleticism is concerned, because I don't think he's out of shape. It's not that. It's just that he's absolutely banged up.
Time catches up with everybody unless you're timeless Tony Storm. But Bobby Petito, brilliant suggestion. Bryan Danielson defends the belt in New Japan. I'm sure he will do that as well. I mean, he'll certainly be an interesting one, a fun one to see. But like we've said, they need to do something. Danielson winning makes sense. It would shake things up. It would maybe add a bit of interest to it. But there's only so much you can do when you got 3 mid-card titles. Like I'm not even joking about this one, because seriously, I remember I had an argument with Soul on the show a couple of months ago where he was like, well, the international titles, the open challenge title. I go, that was what the TNT title was supposed to be. So what's that? Oh, well, that's the Christian Cage title. That's the heel title. And I'm like, what's the Continental Crown then?
Should we talk about the 2 sets of trios titles, or I'm kidding. Save that one for another day.
Please don't even remind me about that storyline, otherwise I'm going on another rant. But guys, that does bring us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for listening. Once again, go to NXConnect youtube.me/Wrestling Republic to see all our content across all platforms in one place. You don't need to be searching up on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all these places. It's one place. Easy. Makes everybody's life easier. And everybody knows that everybody's busy. It's quicker. Saves you time.
Right.
Saves us time. Everything's great. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Matt. And thank you, Clark.
So thank
we'll
you.
see you guys tomorrow.